Greetings and welcome to Wisconsin in Focus, powered by the Center Square. I am Dan McCaleb, executive editor of the Center Square Newswire service. Joining me again today is the Center Square's Wisconsin correspondent, Benjamin Yount. How are you, Ben?
Washington, Wyoming, Mississippi. It's okay. You can just whatever is with a W. We got you. I understand. I know where we are.
With the crazy speaker battle going on in the nation's capital, Ben, I've got Washington on the brain. This is Wisconsin in Focus, so let's stick to Wisconsin. Ben, we are recording this on Thursday, October 18th. A couple of University of Wisconsin campuses are going remote only, ending face-to-face classes. What's driving this, and what are the potential implications?
This is not about remote learning at all. And I don't say that to jump on you or to cut you at the knees, but the concern here, if this was simply, hey, we're gonna teach remotely. Oh, cool, great, wonderful, fantastic. This is about closing Wisconsin's regional campuses. Wisconsin is a state of just under 6 million people. We're a small state, about half the size of the state of Illinois. There are 26 college campuses within the University of Wisconsin system. There are 13 four-year and 13 two-year campuses. And again, this is a state that doesn't have that many people, certainly doesn't have that many high school graduates every year. And so this is about right-sizing what they like to now call the Universities of Wisconsin. It used to be the UW system, but the president earlier this month, late last month, said, no, we're going to change the name to the Universities of Wisconsin. It's very aspirational. But this is about taking the first of the hard steps to close these small campuses. And the campuses that we're talking about are the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee at Washington County and UW-Oshkosh Fond du Lac. The big campus in Milwaukee, not going anywhere. The big campus in Oshkosh, not going anywhere, though it is getting smaller, and we'll talk about layoffs and early retirements here in a second. But both of these campuses, Washington County and Fond du Lac, have fewer than 300 students. And it's unsustainable even to have just the facilities for that small number of students. And so Jay Rothman, the president, came out and said, we've got to do this. The quote, "It is time for us to realign our branch campuses to current market realities and prepare for the future. The status quo is not sustainable." And sadly, you're going to have a number of young men and young women who are taking classes who are going to be caught up in this. You're going to have some people who work at these campuses who are going to lose their jobs. But the point that Rothman is making is that in order to save the entire university system, they have to sacrifice some of these campuses. To make the point even more, to hammer it home, the announcement also came with the announcement that the campus from UW Platteville Richland Center, which are two tiny towns. Platteville is tiny and Richland Center is a blip on the map. But the university said last year, hey, we're going to go ahead and end in-person classes at the Richland Center campus. Promised that they weren't going to close it. Oh, we'll still maintain some sort of a presence. Well, this week, Rothman said we're closing that permanently. So the announcement about UW-Milwaukee, Washington County, and UW-Oshkosh Fond du Lac is the beginning towards an eventual announcement that these campuses will close altogether, and other regional campuses will likely be closed as well.
So now that you put the issue into that light, Ben, it does make sense to me that with dropping enrollment, these rural campuses that don't have many students, all right, that seems like a sensible, fiscally responsible decision. But in light of what you just mentioned about the campus, the Platteville Richmond campus completely closing its doors a year after ending in-person classes, that would certainly be a concern. Also, in these other two campuses that you mentioned that are ending in-person classes, would the students here, if like remote learning was not for them, would they have the option of transferring to the Milwaukee campus?
Yeah, if you the difference between Milwaukee, the main campus, and the Washington County campus in West Bend is probably about 40 minutes of traffic time. With traffic, the Washington County campus is suburban Milwaukee. The WOW counties, Washington, Ozaukee, and Waukesha. Well, Washington County's campus is, 25, 30 minutes from Milwaukee, 40 minutes if you have to circle the parking lot to find a place to park to go downtown to take your classes. And again, we're talking about 250 students in all at each campus. So it's not that big of a population boom. The interesting part that you have to sort of, I think we added it in the story. I'll have to go and read the rest of my writing. I write so many of these, sometimes I forget exactly what I put in, that the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh, the big campus, this week also announced 140 layoffs and another 75 early retirements. So more than 200 people were announced this week at the big campus in Oshkosh that they're losing their job. None of them are faculty members. In fact, 12 of the people who lost their jobs are top university administrators, and we could have an entire podcast about the administrative creep on college campuses. But it's not just these regional campuses, these small campuses, these rural campuses that are the ones that are looking at enrollment declines. Of the 13, and again, you have to say that number out loud, 13 four-year university campuses in Wisconsin, only 5 saw an enrollment increase this year, Madison being one of them. And the University of Wisconsin-Madison, the main campus, it is fine. It is an elite public institution, and you draw as many kids from Illinois and Southern California as you do the state of Wisconsin. But 13 campuses, just 5 saw an increase. That means the majority of UW four-year schools are losing students as well. And we ran the story at the Center Square back in the spring that Jay Rothman, the president, said by the end of this school year, and we're sitting here now in October, the end of this school year, the majority of UW campuses will be losing money. So more layoffs, more furloughs, more early retirements, more cuts are coming. And there's serious conversation as to whether some of the four-year campuses may have to close as well.
Well, that was going to be my next question, Ben. You just really answered it for me. This is just the beginning of the process. You expect more of these rollbacks in the coming months, years, etc.?
Yeah. Oh, this is an issue that is going to be, and it's not just Wisconsin, by the way. There's a demographic bubble rolling through, and you're going to see colleges across the country have to make these kinds of decisions because there just simply aren't as many college-aged kids who are going to school. Combine that with the rising price of higher education, add to that the sense that, more and more young men just aren't going to college, and you've got a real problem for these universities. This is perhaps the best explanation. You have in Western Wisconsin, you have the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse and UW-Eau Claire. You also have UW-Stout. It's by car, maybe an hour and a half from La Crosse to Eau Claire. And then it's 30 minutes from Eau Claire to Stout. So within a 2-hour circle, you've got 3 four-year campuses in a part of the state where maybe 20% of Wisconsin lives. 2/3 of the state live in the triangle between Green Bay to Madison to Milwaukee. That's where the majority of people in the state live. Out in the western part of the state, you have 3 campuses. You have the same thing in the Fox Valley. You've got you got a campus way up north by Duluth. You've got Madison, Whitewater, Milwaukee. You've got campuses that are sort of triangularly located. And, it doesn't take you that long to go from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And so it is simply oversaturation. Illinois, where I spent a good chunk of my career, where you are, state of nearly 13 million people, there are 9 public universities, and that includes the 2 in Chicago that don't really have any students. And Southern Illinois, Western Illinois, Eastern Illinois, they're seeing the same kind of enrollment challenges. There's talk about closing some of those campuses.
Well, I look forward to your continuing coverage of this issue, Ben, but we are out of time right now. Listeners who are interested in keeping up with this story can do so at thecentersquare.com. For Ben Yount, I'm Dan McCaleb. Please subscribe. Thank you for listening.